I'd been re-diagnosed just before COVID hit. What I thought was generalised anxiety disorder was actually CPTSD. And I just remember thinking I need to get out. Not out of my job, not out of my flat. I needed to get the hell out of England. The place, the people, the energy, all of it. I needed to run. But obviously you can't just run. It was the middle of COVID, that awkward gap after the first lockdown but before the second one. And even if the airports had been open, I didn't have the money to do some spiritual soul-searching trip to Bali or Thailand or whatever influencers were doing. I couldn't even take a gap year. I was in my 30s. I tried though. I applied to Camp Canada and actually got the job. They said yes, until they found out I was going to be 33 years old. Apparently, I was too old. Yep. 33, you're too old to sit around a campfire and lead crafts with teenagers. Anyway, I looked into getting a working holiday visa in Australia. Too old. Volunteering in Borneo with orangutans. Too old. Everything I looked at, the door slammed shut. It was like the world was telling me, you're too late. So one day I literally sat down and Googled, what jobs can I do abroad if I'm over the age of 30? And the only thing that kept coming up was teaching English. I remember thinking, well, I am English, so how hard can it be? Anyway, I found a TEFL course in Costa Rica and signed up. I didn't know anyone, I didn't speak any Spanish, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I needed to go. I needed to breathe and to start again. Somewhere that no one knew me. Somewhere I could just exist. The truth is, teaching wasn't the dream. It was the only option. It was my escape route. I got to Costa Rica just before the second lockdown. So while the UK was shutting down again, I was in the sun. I spent the second COVID in Costa Rica. And I had 6 weeks before my TEFL course started. Back then, there were no tourists. It was still peak COVID. I guess technically I was one, but I wasn't there to tan and go home. I was a student. And because of that, I became part of the community. I made friends, people welcomed me in. For the first time in a very long time, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Not because of what I could do or because of what I knew, just for being me. But I also fell straight into old patterns. I was drinking a lot, smoking again, doing drugs, living this full-on party lifestyle, out every night, always surrounded by people, never really alone. And you know what? It felt good, because I felt wanted. It felt like people actually wanted me around, even if it was messy, even if deep down I knew it wasn't sustainable. When the TEFL course finally started, I kind of had this oh shit moment. Like, all right, I actually have to learn how to teach. Grammar, sentence structure, tenses, all of it. And to top it off, I wasn't even learning how to teach British English. They were teaching us how to teach American English. So I hated it. But it was the only legal route I had left to get a working visa over the age of 33, so I stuck with it. I knew within the first week, though, that teaching wasn't for me. I just felt it in my bones. But I finished the course anyway. And as soon as it was over, I went straight back to partying, back to that lifestyle. It became my new normal, and I stayed in it for 2 years. Drinking, drugs, toxic dynamics, falling out with people constantly. I was always defensive and I was always on edge. I managed to get tangled up in 2 different situationships. One was a drunk and the other one was an angry drug addict. Neither of them were any good for me, and looking back now, I don't even know what I saw in them. But I clung on. I stayed because I was desperate to be loved, and I thought I could change them. I thought I could save them. Spoiler alert, I couldn't. I was in a really bad place, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't see that I was the toxic one. And then I ended up in hospital. Blood clot. A life or death situation. I didn't see that one coming, but it forced everything to stop. I was in hospital for a week, hooked up to machines, in pain. And when I got out, I was on blood thinners for 5 months. That meant no drinking, no drugs. No wild nights out. I did still smoke, but I switched to vaping instead of cigarettes. That was the compromise. But here's what really hit me. I couldn't walk. The blood clot was in my leg and I could barely walk. I spent 3, maybe 4 months like that, barely walking, and in that stillness everything changed. When the party stopped, so did the people. The ones who claimed they were my friends, gone. It was like I'd fallen off the face of the earth, because I wasn't the fun, chaotic, always up for anything version of me anymore. Wasn't useful to them anymore. And it hurt, but it also showed me everything I needed to see. That was the real beginning of all the work, the hard work, the healing. I started EMDR therapy online once a week for months. I went deep. I faced memories I'd spent my whole life trying to outrun. I looked at my family dynamics, at the patterns, at the things I had done wrong. I stopped pointing fingers and I started taking responsibility. I realised that I was the common denominator, that I had been toxic too, that I'd hurt people too, that I'd clung to chaos because it was familiar, and slowly I started choosing something different. But here's the part no one talks about. Healing is lonely. Like, really fucking lonely. My life got quieter and quieter and lonelier because once you start seeing things clearly, there's no going back. And not everyone is meant to come with you. One by one, people started disappearing from my life. Not all at once, but slowly. Like they were fading out of a group chat I hadn't realised I'd been removed from. And during this time, my hypervigilance was sky high. I could feel it, the shift in energy. One day they'd invite me out, the next, nothing. Radio silence. And when I'd ask hey, why didn't you invite me? I might not be drinking, but I can still come out. I'd always get the same bullshit response. Oh, it was last minute. Of course it fucking was. A last minute night out with 15 people? You're fucking lying. I know you are. But no one ever told me the truth. They just slowly cut me out thinking I wouldn't notice. I noticed everything. There was this one night, someone I hadn't seen in months invited me out. I think she didn't realise yet that I wasn't partying anymore. But I went, I showed up. And there they all were. A whole table. Maybe 12, 13 people I knew, friends. And again. Oh, it was a last minute thing. Sure it was. I had another friend, someone I really trusted. I'd gone on holidays with her and her mum. I thought she was one of my people, but she changed too, started distancing herself. And when I finally told her how it made me feel, she said my opinions were valid, but she's never told me why. To this day, I still don't know what happened. She just left. They all did. And the thing is, I was doing everything right. I was healing, I was changing, I stopped gossiping, I stopped getting involved in drama that wasn't mine. I started building boundaries and actually keeping them. And I started standing up for myself. I started learning how to love myself. I was doing all the things you're supposed to do. All the things you read in self-help books, all the things the therapists tell you to try. And yet, I lost everyone. Every single person, gone. Maybe I pushed them away. Yeah, maybe I did. But I also think they couldn't control me anymore. Not control like manipulate, but control as in they couldn't get from me what I used to give so freely. The constant people pleasing, the overgiving, the always saying yes, even when I was drowning. That Danny was gone, and they didn't like the new one. And then I ran out of money. Simple as that. No savings, no backup plan. Just me sitting with the question, what the fuck am I doing? I had 2 options. Return to England or stay in Costa Rica. So I looked at option 1, going back, and immediately my whole body filled with dread. Like, full body no. For starters, what exactly would I be returning to? Who? There's no life for me in England. There's no one waiting for me. There's no support. Just grey skies, overpriced rent, and a system that was already failing me before I left. And to be honest, let's be real here. I knew that if I went back, I'd spiral. Hard. Like, I'm not going to make it out kind of spiral. That's not dramatic, that's just honest. England was never safe for me. So that left one option, stay. And Costa Rica is beautiful. Even on the days when everything feels heavy, it's still beautiful. The nature, the wildlife, the ocean, the jungle, the ticos. The fact that I can walk down the road and see toucans and monkeys and butterflies the size of my hand, it's magic. And it reminds me that I want to live, even when everything else feels impossible. I also want to keep learning Spanish. I want to feel rooted here, and I want to create a life I don't need to escape from. And compared to England, Costa Rica is way cheaper. Not for everyone, but for me it is. I don't need to earn loads to survive here, but I do need something. And the only card I had left to play was teaching. So I pulled out the dusty TEFL certificate and I put it to use. Not because I loved it, but because I had no choice. It was the only way I was going to survive. So I sent off the application and started teaching online. I got accepted and I was terrified. I didn't know who my students would be. I didn't know what level they'd be at, didn't know how any of this worked. So I spent hours building lesson plans that I probably didn't even need, just trying to feel some sense of control. My first student was someone called Nicolo, and funnily enough, he's still one of my students to this day. But back then I was shaking. I had to pretend I was this confident, experienced teacher when really I had no idea what I was doing. He was nervous too. So I just mirrored what I thought a teacher was supposed to look like. I started creating personalised lessons for every student, and it took all my time. And after every lesson, I'd close my laptop and think, I can't do this. I'm shit at this. Because they'd ask me things like, is this present continuous or past simple? And I'd blank. What's the noun in this sentence? No fucking clue. What does this word mean? Never heard of it. And yes, I learned all this stuff in my TEFL, but that was 2 years ago. And in between, I'd been drinking, partying, healing, collapsing, rebuilding. My brain was mush. So I'd have to Google everything, or ask ChatGPT, every single lesson. But weirdly, I kept getting students. Maybe because I was British and they loved the accent, or maybe because I was charging such a stupidly low price that it was a bargain. Eventually I burned out, completely. I had so many students it took over my life. I'd wake up and have 9 students back to back, 9 hours, no break. The next day might be 7 hours, the next maybe 3. There was no consistency, and trying to schedule lunch was impossible. I'd go to bed thinking I had a free day, then wake up fully booked. It was chaos. So I pivoted again. I spent a couple of weeks talking to every single student, asking them what days and times do you want, and then I built a schedule that worked for them and gave me a lunch break every day, and my weekends off. Everyone was happy, and I made more money. I could breathe again. And now I've got 20 5-star reviews. Out of 31 anonymous platform ratings, I've got a 5.0 and a 4.9. People love my classes. I finally started to realise, you know what, Danny? You can do this. You're better at this than you think. But I had to change how I teach. I stopped accepting beginners. I stopped teaching grammar completely. Now I teach British conversation, phrasal verbs, idioms. And for advanced students living in the UK, I teach real informal English, the stuff they actually hear in real life. And yes, it's more enjoyable than grammar. My students are lovely, they're kind, smart, interesting people, and I'd love to have real conversations with them one day. But I hate this job. It drains me. It sucks the life out of me because I have to show up with this fake smile and pretend I'm excited to explain the same lesson for the 100th time. I have to do small talk, and I hate small talk. I'm an introvert. I want deep, meaningful conversations, not what did you do this weekend? So yeah, I've gotten past the imposter syndrome. I know I'm a good teacher. I know my students lovely, but I still hate teaching. The truth is, it's not that I don't want to teach, it's that I don't want to teach English. I want to teach the things I've lived through, the healing, the breakdowns, the rebuilding. I want to show people how I've regulated my nervous system, how I've dealt with trauma, how I've clawed my way out of that pit, not how to use phrasal verbs in a job interview. In fact, I don't even want to teach. I don't want to tell people what to do, I want to show them. And if it resonates, it does. If it doesn't, that's okay. Because what I really want is to do something with purpose. And yeah, people always say, but teaching English helps people. And I get it, I do. A lot of my students need English to survive, to work, and to move forward in life, and I'm glad I can give that to them. But the truth is, there are millions of English teachers in the world. You don't need me for that. What you do need me for is this, the part where I speak the truth, where I give a voice to the people who have been silenced, the misfits, the black sheep, the ones who don't belong anywhere so they create their own place. That's where I come in. I want to help animals, the homeless, people with mental health struggles, people like me who've been told they're too much or not enough. That's what I care about. That's my mission. And I think that's why teaching is so hard for me, not because of the students, they're great. Actually, I've started making lessons around real life topics so the conversations do go deeper now, but it's still the same conversation over and over again. And yeah, I could mix it up, but I don't get paid for lesson planning. So I write 30 lessons and I use them until they're done. Then I start again. Same stories, same slides, same words, like a script I didn't write and I can't escape. And now it's summer. I'd finally gotten the schedule right, stable, balanced, manageable, and then almost every single student vanished. For the summer holidays. Gone. Poof, gone. And sure, people say you should have known, but last year I had students through July and August. So I'd been saving for December, not this. Not to have 29 lessons one week and 4 the next. I wasn't prepared, and now I'm spiralling again. One of my students even suggested I put my lesson plans on YouTube with my British accent and everything, and she had a point, so I tried. I spent a whole day building a brand. I made a logo, cleaned up a Google Slides lesson, no fancy fonts, just clean, presentable. I planned to do a voiceover and upload it. And all day long, my body was screaming, I don't want to do this. I hate this. Why am I doing this? But my brain kept saying, this will make money. You have to do this. You need income. And by the end of the day, I looked at everything I'd made and I felt absolutely nothing. Because I had no passion to push it, no energy to promote it, no soul behind it. And I realised if I have no passion for it, then it's not going to make me money anyway. So for now, I'm going to keep teaching because it's all I've got right now. And I'm grateful I have some amazing students and I hope they come back in September after their holidays. I hope I can keep this going long enough to figure out what's next. I'm glad I had this to fall back on. I'm glad I stuck with a TEFL course, even though I knew from week 1 that it wasn't for me, because without it, I wouldn't be here, literally. And yeah, I've lost a lot of people, but I've also met a lot of people and I've experienced things I never would have seen if I'd stayed in the UK. Costa Rica is real special to me. It's not just a country, it's been part of my healing. It's held me, it's softened me, it's broken me open in the best and worst ways. But I'm proud of myself for moving abroad with nothing, for sticking it out, for facing the things I used to run from, and for still being here. Because I am still here. And maybe that's enough for now.